What's going on, everybody? DJ Tommy here, just giving the stream a chance to kick off properly. I can see that Twitch is connected, so let's get started. Today I'm going to talk about a device which, when I was shopping for this device, I could not find much information about how it works or kind of how to set it up and if it would set up according to what I needed. So let me rewind a little. I live in a somewhat rural part of the country, and we have one high-speed internet service. Well, Frontier claims to be high speed, but Frontier is pretty slow. It's really slow, actually, even if you go with their... I think they're still calling themselves a traditional DSL. I think they do offer fiber now, but not in my area. And so the DSL service just comes through phone lines and it's very slow. I think we would be lucky to get like a 50K download speed, not a 50 meg download speed. So Frontier was very slow. And even Frontier wasn't reliable. Now, Spectrum, back when we lived in town, we had Charter, and now they're Spectrum. But it was very congested in town, and our house was a little bit older. So I do feel like there might have been some blame in the wiring of the house. When they installed the service, I think we were doing the 300 gig service. Well, 300 meg service. Yeah, that's a big difference. And they needed a booster, so there was all this stuff that had to be done. And the line coming in from the outside went into the booster, and then the booster went directly to my cable modem. My Spectrum cable modem. And there couldn't be any other wires along the way because that would degrade the quality, which makes sense. But because we were in town, there was some congestion. The speeds were kind of always fluctuating. And then there would be outages, like if they were working on a node in town somewhere, it could affect our node and our speeds. So, with not many choices, you don't really, the only thing you can do is put up with it. And because I've worked at home for many, many years now, you're at the whim of your ISP. When I lived in Phoenix, you had some choices. But even then, there was typically one that was like better than the rest. You always knew who the best was going to be. And I forgot the name of it. I think it might have been Cox. I haven't lived in Arizona in so long. And I know now it's changed with fiber and a lot more competition. But back when I lived in Arizona, there wasn't a lot of competition, and fiber was really just for businesses back, 2013, 2012. So coming out here, the best service was Charter, now Spectrum. And if they had problems, then you just had to deal with it. But now with the the data services from cell phone providers like AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, they're actually getting better. Like 5G speeds are decent. A 5G data connection to service your home, if all you're doing is watching, a couple shows and doing some browsing, that's probably going to be more than enough. Now, because I work from home and I'm programming a lot of systems across the country, that home 5G service is not enough. So I still have Spectrum as my primary, and I'm on the 1 gig plan, which is very reliable. I don't have issues with Spectrum. And my download speeds are typically what they're supposed to be. Like 900 plus down, 900 plus up, and I'm happy with that. And there's rarely any disruptions. Now lately, and I don't know if it's a coincidence, but they're now trying to sell their 2 gig plan. And my 1 gig service has been a little subpar. It's been to where my download speeds might be around 700 and my upload speeds are 8 to 900. So the upload speeds seem to be fine, but the download speeds are lower, which is unusual. So averaging like 700 to 800 megabytes down. And so that's kind of brought a concern of, are they doing this to push us, to have me take my modem in to get serviced, and then they're going to do the whole spiel of, for $20 more a month, you could be on the 2 gig plan. And I would probably fall for that, because for $20 a month, hey, that's a big boost. But I think I would need them to fix my 1 gig service first. I need my 1 gig to be reliable before I, jump into spending more money and doing the 2 gig. But I digress. What I wanted to talk about today is the very rare circumstances that I do have a problem with Spectrum, which I think of now going on 6 years of being here in this house on the 1 gig plan. We've had power outages, which, there's not much you can do about that. And even when we do have a power outage, I do have my internet, my Spectrum gear, and my Wi-Fi on a UPS. So it can run for a while. And I think we did have maybe I think it might have been like a 20-hour power outage during one really bad storm. I think it was a tornado. So, there have been times where the power has gone out for an extensive period of time. And eventually, we did not have power to the Spectrum gear, because even when I run the generator, I'm only connecting the core stuff, like the refrigerators, the freezers, the microwave to cook things, to have something to eat, and some lights. I'm not connecting things. And plus, my whole Spectrum setup is down in the basement, and I just didn't want to run 100-foot extension cords downstairs. Maybe one day we'll do a whole backup generator, like a Generac official whole home backup system. But for now, we haven't really needed that. So it would be kind of a big expense, and I don't know if there would be a real return on investment there. But when it comes to the internet, what I've done is I've invested in this little device. This is called the TP-LINK Omada ER. This one is, the one I have right now is the ER707 M2. So this is a multi-WAN router so that I can have my Spectrum as my primary, and then I've got T-Mobile home internet, a 5G service. So I have a router for that to do the to connect to T-Mobile, and that's about $40 a month. So what I've actually done is I've connected the rest of the house to T-Mobile. So things like all of our Amazon devices, our Ring cameras, the TVs, the streaming devices, all of that stuff, what I consider the non-critical, and everybody else's phones, laptops, iPads, those are all connected and using T-Mobile, because the T-Mobile home internet download speeds are decent. It's getting like 500 down and I think about 40 up. So I think that's more than enough for everyone else in the house. And then my devices and my work, the stuff I have for my day job, those are all now kind of using the Spectrum, the 1 gig stuff. So my internet usage is kind of isolated from everybody else's. But with a really quick flip of a switch, we can go back and forth. So if Spectrum goes down, I can just flip a switch in the device so that it puts me through T-Mobile. And I have them programmed in profiles, like IP group profiles. So I give my devices static IP addresses. So all of my work computers, I have a Polycom phone, a VoIP phone through work, a physical phone on my desk, and that goes out on the Spectrum network. And my work laptop, and then my Mac devices that I use for podcasting, my Mac Studio that I use for video editing. So all of those devices go out primary Spectrum on the 1 gig pipe. And everybody in the rest of the house uses the T-Mobile pipeline with 500 megabytes. So that seems to work out. And like I said, recently, and I don't know if it's because of the bad weather we've had through the winter and now a couple storms, but Spectrum has been a little shaky. And again, I don't know if that's because I've been getting these emails to, hey, you got to try the new 2 gig service. You know how like with an Apple device, it starts to perform like crap when they put out the new version. Like either your battery starts dying immediately or, just apps run super slow. So I feel like that's probably just my conspiracy brain kicking in. So I don't know if that's something that's possible or if, I'm just imagining that, but it has been where my Spectrum modem loses connection, like maybe a couple times a week, and that's unusual. It hasn't impaired me from doing anything important or interrupted anything I was doing. It's just the timing of it. When I look over and I see that my Spectrum modem is not connected, it's like blinking and it's trying to establish connection, and then maybe a few minutes later it's reconnected. But I have had I have had this TP-LINK device sending everything out of T-Mobile. And I actually forgot that I was doing that. So if anybody's ever wondering if the T-Mobile home internet was decent, I would definitely vouch for it. Like I would tell people for $40 a month, that could be your primary internet. If 500 megabytes down and 40 megabytes up, which I think is probably good enough for 90% of people, is a great value at $40 a month. So I would tell friends and family, jump on that T-Mobile. For now, it seems to be a really good service, and I do use it as my backup or my alternate pipeline. Now, if we so this is a little picture I took of the TP-LINK device. So I've got like this blue wire is the this first blue wire that is my Spectrum modem. And then that little red wire, the second one, is the T-Mobile. I don't know if I purposely color coded that, but yeah, I guess it's kind of color coded to the colors of the brands, right? This green cable is now we're getting into the local network. So the first two are the WAN connections, Spectrum and T-Mobile. And then this third connection, and the rest of them are all part of the local network. So this first one is an Orbi router. Well, I have it in AP mode, right? Because all I need is the Wi-Fi access points. But I have three access points on that Orbi system. I think it's an Orbi 6. And then this next connection is going to a switch. It's a little Netgear switch that my work devices are connected to, like my Polycom phone. It's a PoE switch, so I can power the phone. And then this white connection goes directly to my work laptop, actually. I have a direct line to that. And then this yellow goes directly to my Mac Studio. So that also has a direct connection. And I have the Mac Studio purposely connected directly to the TP-LINK device for troubleshooting, because if there's ever a problem, I don't want any other device in the mix that could be kind of skewing any test results, or, adding another possible layer of failure, point of failure, I guess. And so if you're curious, this is the device here. It's the TP-LINK ER707M2. $99. I think I got mine though at Best Buy. I'm trying to remember. I may have bought it through Amazon, but I think I got it at Best Buy. And I just checked Best Buy right before I brought it up on Amazon, and I think it's $129 at Best Buy. So I'm not sure if it's on sale here or if it's just cheaper on Amazon. But yeah, so for about $100, and then of course you would need to pay for two, services. Typically you're going to have one service already, your primary service, whether that be, whatever you use, right? Cox, Charter, Fios, fiber, that kind of stuff. So you would have that. If you're only going to have one service, you don't need a device like this. But if you want to bring in a second service, like I did with T-Mobile Home Internet, then that's where a device like this can come into play. Now, you could always just have two services and then just unplug one when the other one goes down. But having a device like this will let you use both at the same time. And there's other routers that do this, but this one here, for this price, I figured I would give it a try. So yeah, TP-LINK ER707, and I actually this is actually the TP-LINK ER605, which is the same type of device, except this one has a 1 gig max bandwidth for your WAN connection. I don't know if it's hard, might be hard to see that. Let me see if I can zoom in a little. Oh, it doesn't really say, but yeah, it's a 1 gig. So each WAN port can be up to 1 gig. But what I ended up doing, hold on, I need to unplug this motion sensor. It keeps beeping. Okay, there we go. That was annoying, and it's the motion sensor chime is right next to where I'm sitting. It probably sounds like I'm in a Circle K and people are coming in, but I know that's just my motion sensor for when people are walking around in my house. Okay, so back to the ER707. So yeah, versus the ER605. The ER605 is the exact same device, except it only has a 1 gig limit. It's got fewer ports as well. So, you have, I think, 2 WAN ports here. What's it say on the box? Let me try to move it. Oh, I guess it says up to 3 WAN ports. And all the ports are gigabit. So all of these ports support 1 gig data, and 3 of them can be configured as WAN ports. So you could have 3 services. So if you had, your cable modem, and then maybe you have like a satellite backup, and then you could have like a T-Mobile home internet backup. So you could have 3 services. And there's a USB port here, which I guess you can plug in a USB modem. I don't have that, so I've never been able to try that out or test how that works. But it's another option there. And so if we go back to the, so if I click on the 1 gig, I'm guessing I would go to the 605. Oh no, it's a different one. So I don't know what this device is. I thought it would be something else, but yeah. Oh, and then there's a 10 gigabit version, which I don't know. This might be kind of new. Up to 10 WAN ports. Wow. Well, that's a huge price difference. I mean, I don't have anything. I only need the 1 gigabit, but the only reason I got the 2.5 gigabit version is just to have more ports, more LAN local ports. But yeah, so if you have the money to spend, you can get the 10 gigabit version. I'm not sure if you would get your money's worth out of that, but the 2.5 gigabit version is what I have, and it works pretty well. We can take a look at the setup. So I'll log into it right now. So again, when I was researching this device, I could not find a lot of information on it, how it works, how you set it up. So I really was just rolling the dice. And, with Amazon or Best Buy, it's easy enough to take something back. So you can kind of see here. Well, let's go into the setup here. So this is kind of where it starts when you go to your switch. So, you have a lot of options here on the menu. And then if you go to your port config, so you kind of set up how you want your ports to function. Now, this is just setting up the speeds. And I'm not really an expert on flow control. So I don't know if enabling flow control adds any value, or if keeping them unchecked would, be better. I just checked them. No particular reason. Well, what I do is I try different settings, and then I do speed tests just to see if it slowed me down. And if it didn't slow me down, then I just leave it alone. The negotiation mode on these. Now, this negotiation mode's kind of important because your cable modem may not support it. I actually tried to set the T-Mobile device to 2500 megabyte full duplex, and it would not connect to it. The port would not light up. So I dropped it down to 1,000, a gig full duplex, and then it started working. So this is kind of where you'll go in and do your port setups. And then you can see the status, whether it's working or not. Like here, it'll tell you. So port 1 and port 2 are my, Spectrum, T-Mobile. And then I got my 4 local connections here. Everything is link up. Port 7 is the USB, which I don't use. I don't have any device that could connect to the USB modem port. So of course that's going to show link down. And then, statistics, you can, if you're into like numbers and watching everything, this device does have a lot of good analytics available. So you can watch many aspects of how this thing is behaving. And let me throw this out there. I'm not an expert on this device. I have it working probably to the bare minimum of what it's capable of, just so that I can have two WAN services, right? Just so I can have my Spectrum and my T-Mobile, and I can send different devices down the path I want them to go, which we can look at that. That's going to be in the preferences. Well, let's look at the status real quick. And if we go to, well, let's go to LAN. And if we go to the client list, so now you can kind of see all of the devices that are connected. And then I have some of my IP addresses I have reserved, because what you want to do is you want to have static IP addresses, or at least reserved IP addresses for some of your devices, so that you can add them to your different groupings. And that's going to be under preferences, IP group. So what you do is, you take all your IP addresses. So what I've got here are my static IP addresses. And so you add your static IP addresses into groups. So you can have an IP address range. What I should have done is just done a range, but to make it easier, I just put them all in individually. Well, this one here, the Orbi, because I have 3 satellites, I created a IP address range for Orbi. So anything with IP address .31 to .33, that would be 3 devices. Those would be part of the Orbi group. And so if you look at the groupings, now what you do is, so if I have my Mac Studio, I use that to troubleshoot problems, but I typically will have that pointed to Spectrum. But with this one device, this one IP grouping, and you can configure, so you can add all the devices you want, you can add here. So you can have all these devices added to your group called manual ISP. And, they would then be clustered together. And so what you would do is when you would go to behavior control, transmission, I never remember all this. And then you go to routing, you go to your policies. And so I have policies created. Each one is a different rule of which internet it's going to use. So as you can see, my Mac Studio is using the port 1, which is Spectrum. And then I have another one called T-Mobile Primary, and that's using port 2, which is obviously T-Mobile. Spectrum primary devices, which is my work computer, my podcast equipment, that's all using port 1 WAN, which is Spectrum. And my office, things on my desk, those are using Spectrum as well. But, you see 3 things here using Spectrum, and you think, oh, I'm using a lot of Spectrum. But really, this cluster here, this T-Mobile, is everything else, which is like probably 300 other devices. The few that are using Spectrum, that might only be like 5 or 6 devices. So, yeah, it's if it takes a while to get your bearings with all this, and even still, I have to click around a couple times to find what I'm looking for. Now, what I haven't really been able to figure out successfully is how to send it down a different path if one setup fails, right? So if we take something like my Spectrum primary group, so when you're choosing your WAN, you can choose both. But what happens is it always uses both. Like it'll always send it down both pipelines, almost in like a load balanced fashion. And I don't want that. I want it to go out on Spectrum, but only if Spectrum goes down, then I want it to use T-Mobile. But I haven't been able to get that to work automatically. So what I do is if Spectrum goes down, then I come in here, I uncheck Spectrum, and I check the T-Mobile box, and then I hit OK. and then it makes that change. So I have to just take a minute to manually go in here and update that setup. Whereas what I would really like is to have it be able to go out of one, but then if that one goes down, go out on the other. And I don't know where, I was trying to find out how to kind of automate that, but haven't really had any luck with that. So this is where you configure the WAN. So I do see, and I think what you can do is with the bandwidth. So I could change the bandwidth to be more on one and less on the other. So maybe I'll try some things out. I did enough to get it working, and then I just kind of walked away from it. But if I spent a little more time, I could probably, make it do the things I want to do in finer detail. But yeah, so if you're looking for a device to allow you to have dual WAN setups, this is, for $99, this I think is a great option. You can set up reserved DHCP addresses. You can, what's all this other stuff here? Yeah, you set up your port configurations. You can check your statuses, your groupings, your IP grouping. So you do have a lot of control over these things. You do need some basic understanding of IP networks. I am speaking using terminology, assuming that the people watching this video have a basic understanding of some IP stuff. Like when I say static IP or DHCP, if you don't know what those mean, then this may not be the device for you. That may be a little over your head. And like I said, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I know just enough to get it working. But you do need to know some of that terminology. But yeah, there's a ton of things in here. There's tools. You can go in and you can pretty much snoop on all the traffic going in and out of your network. So, you can schedule this thing to reboot like every Sunday at 3 a.m. if you think, you'll be asleep, or maybe you want to do it at like, Saturday morning at 6 a.m. when you'll be asleep, have everything reboot. Or some people don't care about rebooting. I like my devices to reboot occasionally. I don't have it scheduled, but I will just go in if no one's home or if no one's using internet. I will just go in and do kind of like an overall reboot and, just get everything back in sync, especially before I'm going to do like a podcast stream. I want to just make sure everything is, there's no like lingering, any degradation or something where a reboot could clean that up. But some people think rebooting can actually introduce problems. So, my school of thought is reboots are usually helpful. And so I'm fine doing a reboot before something important. But yeah, so, USB storage. So yeah, you can actually add a USB drive. So maybe that's something I'll try, because I got people always telling me, you should just have all your storage on your network, and then you can access your storage drive from anywhere. So I do have like a 20 terabyte RAID that I could maybe connect to this thing. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do something like that and do another video. But yeah, if you have any questions on the TP-LINK Omada ER707 or just how this works in general, leave me a comment below and I'll check it, and then maybe find a way to reach out to you and answer any questions. But so that's all I wanted to do for now. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this type of content where we do kind of like gear reviews and gear deep dives, don't forget to follow and subscribe. And I don't know if Twitch has like this video type thing, but if it does, then smash that, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you later.